It's always a tough choice to decide what to focus on, especially when you have great readings that maybe we only hear once every 3 years. And that was my case for the first reading and the second reading today. But nonetheless, I want to talk more about the Transfiguration, but hopefully the significance of God intervening with Abraham, saying, I'm not asking you to provide the lamb, your son, but I will, 2,000 years later. So that amazing reality of the gift that we have in Jesus Christ. But the thing I was thinking about with the imagery that we can't help but see with the Transfiguration of Light. And that's been a theme we've had here at our WLP for the last couple weeks. Not only did we have the presentation of the Lord on February 2nd, which is a great celebration of light. We bless our candles. We have a candle procession at the Mass, potentially. And we celebrate Jesus Christ as the light, as Simeon recognized, who was waiting for him at the temple. And then right that same week, or maybe it was a week later, but we had 2 weeks ago, the Night to Shine. We hosted that event. It's initiated by the Tim Tebow Foundation, a prom night experience for those with special needs in the community. We had to be a little creative. We had a drive-through, a shine-through, as we called it, around the campus, where different stations where those who participated would get different gifts or get pictures or be celebrated on the red carpet, so to speak, before the virtual event that they had. And over 700 churches sponsoring events like that throughout the world. Really a great night. But that idea of the night to shine, it's kind of an interesting contradiction on some level, because we know that at night it's not as light. And I want to come back to that in a little bit. But the gospel and the Transfiguration is certainly an experience uniquely of the light, of Jesus' identity as the light of the world. And remember the significance of Moses and Elijah being up there. They are the two representatives, so to speak, of the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, the revelation of God through the law and the prophets. Moses representing the law, Elijah the prophets. And remember, both of them went up mountains to encounter God. Moses, Mount Sinai, to receive the 10 Commandments. He went up the mount multiple times, actually. And Elijah going up Mount Horeb. Some people, scholars argue, it's hard to believe we don't know which mountains these were, but there's debate about it still. And some argue that Sinai and Horeb are the same, but most say they aren't. But nonetheless, Elijah, after 40 days of fasting and escaping the king that was after him, went up the mountain and had this unique experience of God's revelation on the mountain. So now they are here on the Mount of Transfiguration, traditionally Mount Tabor. You know, you can go visit when you go to the Holy Land, a neat experience. And now they are there with the one who is revelation incarnate, right? He is the fullness of God's revelation in himself, in his being, Jesus Christ. So the three of them here, not only an affirmation of Jesus's continuity with them, but we now understand taking this revelation to a whole new level. And so here they are. And so we hear about this light, this dazzling light, that this white that can't even be created by human hands, by a fuller, in Mark's gospel says. And now remember, when Moses went up the mountain to encounter God in that unique way, to see him face to face, so to speak, what happened when he came back down? Do you remember? He was glowing. He was radiant. To the point almost that people had to cover their faces for a stretch. They couldn't look at him. But what's the difference between Moses' radiance and Jesus's? Moses's comes from outside. It's a light that's been kind of shone on him on the surface, so to speak. Jesus' light comes from within. He is the light. He's the source. And so thinking about the night to shine, and last night, did you see the full moon, right? And when it's a full moon, what a difference that makes in visibility at night between when it's cloudy. But, I think about the different ages that we talk about of revelation and God walking with humanity. And one of the ways we break down those ages is that the first age being the age of creation. And I was thinking about that image of light and night and day, and I kind of see that age of creation as nighttime with no full moon. And if it's really a cloudy night, you can barely see. But if it's not so cloudy, you might be able to get around at night once your eyes adjust, but it's pretty precarious. And that's kind of the age of humanity and creation from Genesis, Adam and Eve, to really Abraham and Moses. And then Abraham and Moses, God intervenes, reveals himself more directly, and specifically through the law. So the age of the law, I would say, maybe could equate to a full moon. You go outside, you can make your way around, you can actually navigate decently maybe, but certainly nothing compared to the next experience, right? And that's the age of grace. That's the age of Jesus Christ. It's the daytime. It's the full sun at noon, right? That's the age we live in. That's what Christ has brought to this. And not some light imposed to us. Remember, the moon is reflecting the sun's light, right? I'm not a major scientist, but I think I understand that piece. And that's kind of what Moses and Elijah were doing. But that's not a light that necessarily can be sustained. Jesus Christ brings the light from within, and then we partake in that light. We don't just have it showered upon us from outside. When we're baptized, we are recreated in the fullness of the light. We become light bearers, torch bearers, because we have Christ within us. We are the temples of the Holy Spirit. That's the light of Jesus Christ. We are walking in the day. It should look different than the people, before Moses and Elijah and between Moses and Jesus. We have the fullness of the light. And so the courage and the strength we should have to walk in that light, to live in that light, to grow in that light, to minister in that light, even when the outside seems to be pretty dark. And that's the other piece of this, is that when the light is coming from without, and then we're blocked from that source, which is what the storms, which is what the chaos in our world, which is what pandemics can do, then what happens? We feel like we're back to walking at nighttime with no clouds. With the clouds, no full moon. But if we are stoking that fire and that light from within, the clouds can come, the darkness from without can come, but we still have the light of Christ within us, guiding us, not leaving us in the dark. That's the difference. And so if I struggle to experience that, that's a Lent and a mountaintop experience, going to the desert, whatever image we use, this is time to ask God, help me to be transformed more internally. Help that light of my baptism to more fully shine and take over my life, so that I'm not just Moses reflecting a light that's from outside of me, but that I'm participating in the life of Christ, the light coming right from within. And the experience of the sacraments and my prayer and the Bible and all the things, the angels, which I talked about last week, right? All the support of St. Joseph and the great saints, and all these, our devotion to Mary, and all these different ways that God, through the church, wants to help strengthen that light, not just from without, but within. And so let's continue to be people of the light. Let's celebrate that we are people and we know Jesus Christ is the light, and to allow that light, not just to shine from the outside, but to let that light, this Lent and leading up to this Easter, more fully than ever, shine through each one of us. It can truly be, and we can be, a night to shine in Jesus Christ.